Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican. In 4 months' time, I'm going to be moving into a convent ready to become a postulant. And this is a question that my mum was actually asking earlier. And she was saying how some people might wonder if they're supposed to not hug nuns because of the vows they take or because they're sort of seen as more holy and set apart somehow. So yeah, inspired by my mum's question, here is a video on the subject of, am I allowed to hug a nun?
I will hold your people in my heart.
My understanding is that the only kind of set apartness in terms of relationships and physical interaction that sisters or nuns have vowed it is to do with like romantic relationships and romantic kind of interaction. But I think it's quite normal, and I've seen it and I've experienced it myself for sisters to like hug people, like hug family, friends, guests, like especially when they arrive at the convent or when they're saying goodbye. And I can't see any reason why, yeah, apart from saying that you shouldn't like hug in a romantic way, that I can't see any reason why they shouldn't hug it in like normal hello goodbye ways and hug family as you would normally and all that kind of thing. Um, I've visited convents, like different convents, quite often, and I've been like hugged several times. Usually, yeah, when I'm like greeted at the door, and when I'm saying goodbye to the sisters when I'm going back home again. So yeah, to me, it's very the whole concept of like being hugged by a sister who's greeting me or wishing me goodbye is really normal to me. And I suppose, yeah, for religious sisters, and I guess the same is true for any single people, they don't have much physical like contact in their lives. It might only be things like when they shake hands at the peace and in the communion service. And so for single people and for people in religious life, I guess it's all the more important to use physical touch as much as possible, like obviously in the correct ways. And the more you think about this whole area, I wrote a paper once on the whole topic of are shaking hands at the peace or exchanging the peace in the Eucharist. So this whole thing came up then. I was exploring it about how many people in our society don't actually have much physical contact, and are we aware of all the people in our congregation for whom like me shaking their hands in the peace might be the first time they've had any like physical contact in their whole week, for example. But yeah, this whole topic led me to back to the Gospels and Jesus himself, and how like Jesus was celibate, and he also throughout the Gospels you see him using touch a lot. Yeah, like, and he sometimes even shocked people by when he reached out and touched the leper, for example. So yeah, Jesus used physical touch quite a lot in his ministry. And when I've gone to convents and like met sisters or spent time with them, I've noticed that quite a few of them have been like a bit more tactile, like I imagine Jesus being, like just maybe like when I'm there as a guest, maybe just like a sister might put her hand on my wrist or my arm while talking to me, or something little like that. And that's, I imagine that that's their way of um so yeah, using physical contact in the way that it seems Jesus did a lot. And I suppose like the whole incarnation is about how God didn't stay distant, but came to earth and did like embrace us effectively and more. And so the way I see it that is that appropriate hugs, obviously, appropriate hugs are always a kind of, I guess, even like a sacrament. Like they a hug somehow says something of God's presence and God's love. And so yeah, in terms of like religious sisters and hugging nuns and things, I think a hug coming from a nun can be very, very powerful. Especially if they're somehow like representing something of God to you in that moment. Like not that a nun is any more holy than any other Christian, like I've said in another video, but sometimes people just can find that helpful, being hugged by a nun, especially if if there's just been like a disaster, or they're bereaved, or if they're dying. Sure, a lot of religious sisters benefit from being hugged by like friends and family and things. And so, yeah, I think hugs are really profound forms of ministry.